For me, confidence is just knowing that you're more than capable of doing it, especially as women, right? You are way more than capable. It's sometimes, a lot of things happen, how we're brought up, how we're seen by society, all these thoughts that come to our heads that's been fed into our minds to think that we're not good enough, when really it's the total opposite.
Welcome to Happy to See Me, the podcast that puts the spotlight on the overlooked and underestimated. I'm Erika Casupanan, the first Canadian to win Survivor. But before that, I was a Filipino immigrant and corporate perfectionist who felt doubted and overlooked. Now I'm here to prove that every journey, whether messy, beautiful, or unexpected, is worth celebrating. Every Monday, I bring you candid conversations and relatable pep talks with guests who've defied expectations. If you're ready to feel seen, celebrated, and empowered, you're in the right place. And here, I'm always happy to see you. Were you always a red girl?
No, I wasn't.
When did you become a red girl?
I think I started maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. In Chinese culture, red is a color that symbolizes happiness, abundance, luck. On birthdays, we wear red to celebrate. On Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, we get lucky red envelopes. So for me, it wasn't only about a color that represents confidence and courage. It also had to tie into something to my culture that was positive. So being Chinese and Filipino, trying to do my best to commemorate that culture. So that's why I wear red.
Oh, I love it. I mean, as a fellow girl who wears basically one color, although today I am wearing red in celebration of having you on the podcast, I totally understand the importance of picking a color that really resonates and has so much meaning for you. And I love that you said that it represents confidence because we are talking confidence today.
Yes, confidence is something we all go through or we need to work on every single day, including myself. I can talk about it all day long, but acting on it is a totally different thing.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is definitely a practice, and we'll get into it, but why don't I introduce you to the listeners first? So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sheena Yap Chan. Sheena is a keynote speaker, podcaster, consultant, and the best-selling author dedicated to empowering women with a focus on leadership and confidence. And she's also a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and her newest book is Bridging the Confidence Gap: How Empowered Women Change the World. And I just read it, and it is really life-changing. So welcome, Sheena.
Thank you so much for having me, Erika. I'm so excited to be here today, to even meet you in person and just be able to chat before coming on to the show. So just super excited for this conversation.
Yes, I'm happy to have you on. And I love to start the episode by asking, what is something that you are happy to see this week?
The Jays winning,
yes.
Going into the World Series after 32 years, which is amazing. Now we're going to have to play the LA Dodgers. So I'm definitely praying that we win the World Series because how amazing is that? It's like when the Raptors won the championship, like it took them, 25 years to win a championship. And I think this is such a great lesson because a lot of us always look for like instant gratification. But you look at these sports teams like the Raptors, the Blue Jays, they keep going and going until they get there. And like we got into the first World Series since 1993, which is wild. And so super excited to see what's going to happen, rooting for them. To me, they've won either way. But of course, we would love to win the World Series.
Yes, 100%. I mean, we are recording this 2 days after Game 7 of the ALCS, so we are on the high of the Blue Jays. I hope by the time this episode comes out, we can look back and be like, wow, we had no idea the joy we were going to experience. But I love baseball, and I love following them, especially this year, because they're really the underdogs, right? They were definitely a team that people counted out, and I think that watching their journey is a testament to how you shouldn't really count people out, and to see the strength that I think largely comes from their teamwork and how every single person on that team is contributing. I hope that it is an inspiration to people, whether they're sports fans or not, what can happen when you keep going, even if people don't necessarily believe in you.
Yeah, for sure. I hope maybe one day they'll make a movie about it.
Oh, we'll be in. We'll watch it. Okay, I will quickly share what I was happy to see this week. So I spoke yesterday at an event called Rally, and it was meant to inspire 2,500 teenagers to have digital wellness, perhaps have less screen time. And afterwards, I broke my laptop. I can't even get into that story right now. But then I was at the Apple store, and I was there for hours. And actually, 2 teenagers who saw me speak earlier that morning came up to me. They were so polite and they were so respectful and well-mannered, and they shared how much they enjoyed my talk. And it really stayed with me how well-mannered they were, and it gave me a lot of hope for the next generation. So that's what I was happy to see this week.
I love that.
I know we were talking about the Blue Jays being perhaps underdogs, but wanted to see, was there a moment when you ever felt underestimated?
All the time. Growing up in Asian culture, especially being an Asian woman, I feel like we're always the underdogs, right? Because, for so long, we've been taught to never make any noise, stay in the background, do as you're told. Even if you try to do something that's outside what's considered the norm, they look at you like something's wrong with you, or you're going through a breakdown, not realizing there's so many ways to live life, right? And so for me, I just always kept moving. I always felt like the black sheep or underdog or whatever you may call it, because I did not follow a typical 9-to-5 route. Not that there's anything wrong with it, right? If you love your job, that's great. But there's always different ways to do things. There's always different ways to live life, especially being in Toronto. There's so many opportunities out there. We may have to work a little bit harder, but it's there, right? If you go for it. And so I always wanted to create better representation, especially growing up here in the 90s. You wouldn't see people like me and you doing podcasts, being on Survivor, speaking on stages. That was not a thing. And so for me, I always felt like I wasn't good enough, that, I could do something different, because I never saw anybody in the media that looked like me. And so this is why I do the work that I do now. I show up, even when it's scary, even if it's uncomfortable, even when I stutter, when I make mistakes, because it's so important. When you're talking about the next generation, this is who I'm doing it for too. I have nieces and nephews. I want to show them that anything is literally possible. And especially for women, part of the reasons why I wrote Bridging the Confidence Gap was because there was a report from the World Economic Forum that mentioned total gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154.
Ooh, that's too far.
But that's when I wrote the book. So as of now, it's actually delayed 4 more years.
Oh, no.
So now 2158. So it's like 133 years from now. And I don't think any woman wants to wait that long.
Okay, I guess my great-great-grandchildren will get gender parity. Okay, that's cool. But it is incredible that even though, that finish line is so far away, you've dedicated so much of your life and your work to really helping other people and women to build confidence. What does confidence mean to you?
For me, confidence is just knowing that you're capable, that you can make it happen. You don't have to know how you're going to make it happen. You just know you can figure it out as you go. And I know it's easier said than done, but especially, I've been there where I've overthink every little thing. I would second guess every action that I did. I would resist a lot, not knowing that I was just delaying my own success. And the moment I realized, you just take action and just keep going, that's when I realized the results happen. And so for me, confidence is just knowing that you're more than capable of doing it, especially as women, right? You are way more than capable. It's sometimes, a lot of things happen, how we're brought up, how we're seen by society, all these thoughts that come to our heads that's been fed into our minds to think that we're not good enough, when really it's the total opposite. And so for me, it's important to instill confidence in women, because when I go to talks, I have women who tell me, they go through imposter syndrome a lot. They overthink a lot as well, or, telling me that being able to see me on stage, it helps them realize what's possible. It helps them realize that they can achieve something too. Like, in fact, a woman that I met in Vancouver who read both of my books, and she mentioned that because she read them, she decided to go after her dream job.
Wow.
She just went for it. She just applied for it. She didn't know what the outcome was, but she got the job. And now she has her dream job. And so to hear stories like that fills my cup, because, I never thought I would ever make a difference in this world. And so just seeing one person's life change for the better, that makes it all worthwhile.
Well, you've definitely made a difference in the world. I was recently a guest on your podcast, and one of the questions you asked me, it really caused me to think for a while, even after we finished the recording. You had asked me, and feel free to correct me, but the question was along the lines of, when did you become confident? And I remember afterwards thinking, Was there a moment I became confident? When did that happen? Was it a journey? And then in my mind, I started to break down what is confidence? Is it a feeling? You can feel confident in a day. Is it a trait? Like you could be a confident person or a not confident person, or is confidence a skill? Is it something that you have to develop over time and something that you have to put into use? So what do you think confident is, or is it none of those things?
I think it can be all of them, right? It's a feeling, it's a skill, it's something that we put in and day out. It's something that we have to like work on our mindset as well to realize, hey, I can make this happen. I can do this. So it takes mindset and action to get that result. And the first step that everybody needs when it comes to confidence is that belief in themselves that they can make it happen regardless of what the circumstances is, right? We could be in the worst possible situation and you can still have that belief saying, I can make this happen. And sometimes, the greatest things happen from unfortunate situations, right? Like we see the lockdowns in 2020, everyone started creating different businesses that helped them quit their job and actually make way more than they did before. And so for me, yeah, confidence is all of it, I think.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you said that it starts with the belief, right? And it's not like there's a switch where one day you're not confident and all of a sudden you are, but it's the belief and then building on that with the actions. And with your second book, Bridging the Confidence Gap, when you set out to write this book, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident were you feeling in terms of the production of this book?
Not that confident because I recently just finished launching and writing my first book, The Tao of Self-Confidence, with the same publisher. And I didn't expect to write a second book right away. I was happy with the first book. I was just going to pimp it out like there's no tomorrow. I was just going to show up, talk about it. And because I guess I kept on showing up, they were like, would you like to write a second book? And I was like, oh man, I don't even know if I have a second book in me. I just wrote one whole book. And I had to write that first book in less than 3 months so it would come out on time. And, I told myself, I'll figure it out. I'll make it happen. And so I just started writing like an outline, what that would look like. I sent it out to the publisher, the editors. They said, okay, let's go. Let's make this happen. And I just started writing. And so for me, I realized if I could do it once, I could do it again. I used the same advice that my friends would give me when it came to writing. And then just started going to Starbucks every weekend and just like started writing, started figuring out what I wanted to write and what was needed, right? One of the biggest, or I guess one of the chapters I love writing was about the importance of self-promotion, because as women, we're not taught to promote ourselves, right? We've been taught that self-promotion is not ladylike, right? Or it's, you're too much. But really, it's the total opposite. If you have a product and service that you want to share to the world, it's going to have to come from you, or else how are people going to know who you are and what we do? And for me, self-promotion is a leadership trait. It's not something that's not ladylike or too much. It is a skill. Because it takes skill to go up there and say, hey, buy my product, buy my service, click the link, DM me, whatever that is, right? And people don't realize in marketing nowadays, before social media, they said it would take about 7 times before a person saw your product or service to make a buying decision. 7 times, right? Well, now we have TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these social medias, it's increased 5 times more, 4 or 5 times more. So imagine you can't just share it once and think people are going to come to you, right? Unless you have a big following, that's a different story. But they also built their brand from the ground up to get there where they are today. So for me, it is important for women to self-promote and to say it's okay to promote yourself.
Yeah, I really liked that chapter as well. I think that growing up in an Asian culture and specifically in Filipino culture, where humility is important, right? In Filipino culture, you don't want to be too mayabang, which is basically being too much. And I got called that a lot when I was a kid. So I was like, okay, I have to find a way to temper this. And then you realize, wait, that's actually a really positive trait in today's society. So yeah, reading that, I was like, okay, this is all hitting. I really resonate with a lot of what you're saying. And I'm sure that a lot of people who are listening probably understand that self-promotion is important, but it feels so out of their comfort zone. So what are things that people can do if self-promotion isn't something that comes naturally to them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's important to start small. That's the first thing. Like when I first started blogging from, it was like over 10 years ago. I wanted to share my first blog, and it was really like uncomfortable for me. I was like, oh my God, my friends and family are going to see this. They're going to think I'm nuts, but I need to do this. Right. So I published my first blog. I shared it on Facebook. I press, post. But you know what I did? I set the audience from public to me. So only I saw it. But I had to start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So you have to start somewhere. And I think the important thing is that you don't have to do it alone, right? There's a reason why there's communities, there's accountability partners, because you could do it with other people who are going through the same fears, right? And this is why I constantly show up and promote, because I know how scary it is. So when they see me doing it, they see, okay, if she's doing it, then I can do it, right? Sometimes it just takes one person to do it. And it's not like I love to promote myself. Honestly, I'd rather be like watching Tagalog movies or K-dramas. But
Same.
I understand how important it is. And I understand it's not just about me. It's about every other woman out there who needs to see that's okay to promote themselves. It's okay to share their products and services. It's okay to be a little bit shameless. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, even if you just say, hey, a little shameless promotion, buy my book, book me as a speaker, click the link, send me a DM. I mean, it's okay to say it, because men do it all the time. And of course, when men do it, they're confident and courageous. But when women do it, we're too ambitious, we're too much. But in order to get rid of these labels, we really need to just keep showing up until it's normalized. So, starting small, not have to do it alone. Like in the book, I share a lot of tips, right? But here's like one tip, right? Like you see the book right here. It's like product placement is so undervalued. Like if you look at K-dramas, like they shamelessly like product placement all the time. Right?
All the time. The phone that folds in half. I'm like, do I need one?
Do you know how many Subways have seen that's been eaten in K-dramas? Yeah. Like it's crazy. But people don't realize how much money people make, like how much, like that's a multi-million-dollar industry in Hollywood and in K-dramas. So even like in movies, the cars that you see, that's all product placement, right? Like you don't have to like directly say, hey, buy my book. Like you could just have it there and people be like, oh, what is that? Oh, that looks interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that you talk about how self-promotion isn't necessarily a selfish thing, right? Because you're also setting the example for people to show that they can really own who they are, they can own their skills, they can own their expertise. And a chapter in the book that I really appreciated, you were talking about how someone's individual confidence is actually helpful to society. And I thought that was really interesting. So can you share more about what that means?
Yeah, I guess for me, it's just like, if I wanted things to change, it had to start with myself, right? It was the reason why I started my own podcast, The Tao of Self-Confidence. In 2015, I was dealing a lot of my own confidence issues. And I was trying to find resources that catered to Asian women specifically, because I'm Asian. And
Same.
And there wasn't any, right? In 2015, there was nothing. And so part of me felt like maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I'm the only one feeling this way, not realizing a lot of us feel this way. Well, we're just taught not to talk about it. And so I started the podcast. I didn't know what I was doing. I just went for it. I started interviewing all these women. And I realized that, when I see someone out there just doing it, that inspires me. I've interviewed over 800 women on this topic of confidence. I've heard so many stories, and each of their stories inspires me to keep moving forward. Like when I hear someone who's the first armless pilot, like that's insane.
How does that even happen?
How do you fly?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to fly a plane with my hands, let alone with my feet, right? And then hearing other women who've been bankrupt 3 times and then still keep going. I mean, that takes a lot of confidence. Or being in jail and then starting their life all over again, that takes a lot of confidence. So for me, like hearing each and every one of their stories inspires me. And I've learned a lot of my confidence through interviewing all these women. Even your story, your story is so inspirational, right? Being the first Canadian winner for Survivor, which is an American show. And I know we dig in a little bit more on my podcast, but that inspires me because anything is really possible when you manifest it and then then the universe or whoever you believe in starts showing you the way to get there. You saw the call sheet and you're like, I'm just going to apply, right? You went for it and you got in, you played the game, and then you won, and it's changed your life. But imagine if you didn't even apply because you didn't feel like you were good enough. Where would your life have been?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is wild to think that, right?
Yeah.
It's so incredible that you've been able to talk to so many women, both through podcasting and in researching for your 2 books. Do you find that there's a really common, almost negative, limiting thought that the women tend to have, and how do they overcome it?
I think imposter syndrome is really prevalent. I'm not saying men don't get imposter syndrome, but women actually deal with it a lot more, right? This feeling of, I'm not qualified, I'm not good enough, there's someone better out there, I'm too old, I'm too young. We've all been there, even myself, right? I mean, I wrote my first book, The Tao of Self-Confidence, at the age of 40. I never in my right mind thought I would ever write a book, first of all. When I moved from the Philippines to Toronto, I had to take ESL classes because I couldn't even speak English properly. I don't have a degree in writing. In fact, my ate still makes fun of me because when I write something on LinkedIn, she's like, the grammar police. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, leave me alone. That's what an edit button's for. I share that because I want people to realize, first of all, it's never too late. You can start at any given moment, and that you can make it happen. And I've learned to, when people talk about imposter syndrome, I've started telling people that, imposter syndrome can be a good thing because it's just a sign that you're leveling up. And when you're leveling up, it's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's going to suck. Mm-hmm. You're going to have butterflies in your stomach. You'll probably have sweaty palms. You'll be stuttering. Like, you would have this uncomfortable feeling that you're like, oh, now I got to like stretch myself. And so when I start going through those thoughts, I realize, okay, it's me telling myself like, it's time to move up. And all these feelings are it's normal to have those feelings because we're doing something different. We're taking it to the next level, and we're growing as just human beings. And so for me, when I tell people about that, it helps them realize, okay, I'm just moving up. I'm just taking it to the next level. It's going to suck, but if I push through it, I will be more than okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that with imposter syndrome, it doesn't need to be the alarm bells that are telling you to stop moving forward and to run away. It's just a sign that you're growing, right?
Yeah.
And growing is uncomfortable. Think about when we were kids and we were growing. The shoes that you were wearing one school year aren't going to fit you the next school year because you've outgrown them. And if you were to try to put those shoes back on again, they would be really uncomfortable. So yes, I think it's very natural for us to feel uncomfortable as we're growing. I think that's something else that I love about your story is not only did you get started, but you kept going. So you have been podcasting since 2015, 10 years. That's an incredible feat. So let's say if someone has gotten started with something and they might not get the immediate validation or the immediate results that they want at the beginning, how do you then inspire them to keep going?
Yeah, I think sharing my own story is important. I started in 2015. The first 5 years, I didn't even know what to do with my podcast. I didn't know how to monetize it. I didn't know how to build a brand. I just kept going. I just said, I need to do this because there's a bigger purpose. And having purpose is so important because when you have something that's bigger than yourself, you're more willing to do it. It's not just about you. And also listening to other very successful people. A lot of people think they had overnight success, but it was overnight success, 10 years in the making, 20 years in the making, 30 years in the making. And the more we hear stories like that, it makes us realize, this is just all part of the process, right? I know social media can paint a picture of like, I made $10,000 in 30 days, but it actually took them 10 years to figure out how to make $10,000 in 30 days. So, sometimes what we see in social media is surface level, and they don't even realize what happens in the background or what struggles they had to go through to get to where they are today. If you look at comedians, if you look at singers, actors, they had to audition day in, day out, or comedians, they had to give free comedy shows in order to get to the big stages, or even like set up their own show and tape it to sell it off to different streaming giants, right? Like Joe Coy mentioned how he paid for his own like comedy show to be taped, to videotape, and to do all that so that he could sell it to Netflix. because when he brought the idea to Netflix, they said no. And then he's like, I'm going to do it anyways, even though he didn't know what was going to happen. He invested in himself. He paid for someone to do all that, to tape his comedy special. He was able to sell it to Netflix. I think he has 3 or 4 more comedy shows on Netflix, right? So that wouldn't have happened if, first of all, he didn't go through all these comedy shows day in and day out, go through the late night shows where nobody listens to you, paying for his show, and then getting the deals. And now when he has comedy shows, like they sell out, right? And it's not like 200 tickets. It's like 10,000 sometimes, right? I think when he was here in Toronto, it was like 12,000 people sold out, which is wild. So this is why for me, hearing other people's stories is so important, right? Because you have to know the struggles they went through and how long it took them and realize it's okay. It's all part of the process.
100%. I think that anytime, especially when they're in the arts or they are a personality or they perform in some way or even athletes, as we were talking about the Blue Jays, what we see as the public is actually 1% of the work to getting there. So, for example, even in the case of the Blue Jays, yes, they play baseball for 3 or 4 hours a night, but that's the reward for all of the work. And I know it's a saying within the entertainment industry that the audition is the work and the work is the perk. All of the unpaid labor, all of the unpaid efforts, all of the investment you have to put into yourself to get the right coaches for the education, everything, all of the late nights, that's the actual work. And then for you to be able to say, yeah, I have a book, that is the reward of all of the work that gets there. So I hope that people recognize that if you are in that moment of struggle and you're wondering why it's not coming easy, you're actually in the same journey that other people have gone through, and you're actually in the 99% of the things that people don't see, and you're not alone if you're struggling.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're doing something for yourself, it gets very, very lonely.
Yes.
So I think having shows like this is so important.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, and it's amazing to have you on it. And I totally get that feeling too. So since I switched from working in the corporate world to working for myself, love that there's purpose behind the work I do. But yeah, there's definitely times where I'm just, lone wolf sitting at home the whole day typing. So it's amazing to be able to chat with you and to other folks on the show. Something else that I saw you say in your book that I also really appreciated is you talked about how you need the courage to be confident. And I've never heard somebody put it that way before. So can you expand a bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought, in order to be confident, you just have to go out there and do something. But really, it takes courage to do something. And when I mean courage is that, we all have fears, right? And being fearless is not about not having fears. Being fearless is having that fear and pushing through it anyway. So an example was, I remember I got approached by CGTN to do a live interview, and I didn't know who they were at that time.
Who are they?
So they're the largest TV network in China. When I looked at their Facebook, they had over 100 million followers, and then the show that I was on was a live primetime TV show with an award-winning host, and I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out because I'm like, this is a lot of people. But I went through it, and the host asked me one question, and I literally blanked out for probably a good 10 seconds. And 10 seconds on TV is long, right? It's like crickets. It's it feels like an hour. And so he was able to ask me a second question, and I was able to answer it, a follow-up question. And by the end of that, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't die. I pushed through it. Even though I was scared, it was uncomfortable, I was afraid that I might blank out, I still went through it. And, that confidence comes after, because it's since I was able to tackle this, what else can I tackle, right? And so we all, like I mentioned, we all have fears, and it's learning to push through them. There's no magic antidote to overcome your fears. It's really through action and having the support to help you get there, right? Whether it's through listening to podcasts like this, reading books, having a community, it helps a lot along the way. Because I remember doing my first YouTube video, it was terrible. I tried to do a 2-minute video, and it took 2 hours to do. And it was about, working from home, when working from home wasn't a big thing yet. And I remember I delayed it for 4 months because I was so afraid to do video, super scared, didn't want to do it. I would look at my phone, and my phone would look like the biggest thing ever, because that fear, right? That fear creeps up. And I was also part of this women's community who were supposed to do the same thing. This was an exercise we were supposed to do. And I saw another woman who was also going through the same feelings that I had. It was their first time. They were just as scared as me, but they went through it. And so seeing her doing it, I was like, okay, if she's just as scared as me and she's doing it, I got to do it too. So at least I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. So sometimes we just need to talk to people and say, listen, I get scared too. I get scared way more than you realize, but I have to learn to push through it so that I can get to the side of confidence and realize, what else can I accomplish? What else am I capable of? Because being able to push through your fears shows, hey, I am more than capable to make this happen. And then it builds your confidence. And then it becomes just like this wheel of like, what can I do next? What can I do next? So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Before we wrap, do you have any outstanding advice for the people listening who really want to start their confidence building journey?
Yeah, for sure. I might have a few, and I'll keep it short as much as I can. The first thing is, when it comes to building confidence, just take it one step at a time. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, so don't expect yourself the same thing. In the book, I talk about this strategy of ready, fire, aim. And yes, ready, fire, aim. So you start before you're ready, you take action, and you course correct as you go. Because a lot of people want to do ready, aim, fire. And unfortunately, you keep aiming to the point that you forget to fire, right? Especially growing up in Asian culture, we're always taught to be the perfect daughter, perfect wife, perfect sister. And perfection is a myth. It's not real. So it's better to take imperfect action and course correct as you go than to keep aiming for that perfect action. And so I hope if you learn one thing from this talk today is that saying ready, fire, aim. When you're feeling doubt, when you're afraid to take the first step, just remember that. Just ready, fire, aim, because that's how you can get the results you really want. I've done that. I've made a lot of mistakes. It still led me to writing 2 books for Wiley, which is one of like the top publishers. And I never in my right mind thought I would ever write a book for them. So yeah, that's my advice.
I love that advice. Don't let perfectionism stop you. There's no such thing as perfectionism. What's important is just moving forward and learning and iterating as you go.
Yes.
Sheena, if people want to keep up with you or if they want to find either of your book, where can they do that?
For anyone who'd like to get a copy of Bridging the Confidence Gap or The Tao of Self-Confidence, they can check it out Indigo, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and any other book retailers worldwide. You can also check out my website, SheenaYapChan.com. I have a free self-confidence personality quiz that you can take. For my podcast, The Tao of Self-Confidence, it's on all major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more, and Acast. And also, if you would like to connect with me on social media, it's all Sheena Yap Chan on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. But if you forget anything that I said, just Google my name, Sheena Yap Chan, because I'm literally the only Sheena Yap Chan on the internet.
Oh, I love that. I love that you get to have your claim over the name.
Yes.
Sheena, thank you so much for joining me today.
Erika, it's been an honor to be here today, so thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. And to everybody listening, if you haven't already, I would love if you could subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps people to find inspirational conversations like today's. And thank you for spending a bit of time with me this week, and I will be happy to see you next Monday.
This podcast has been brought to you by the Sonar Network.